My clocks are chiming.
And that means we started on time. Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. Mud Flood was Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. I'm a little bit worried, going to check the sound levels. I might have some audio today. I want to welcome Randy. Randy, thank you so much. You can help me out tonight. I know that.
We'll see. Time will tell.
All right. So I put my provided life lived with no compunction. And compunction, it means not even a nagging guilt about what you're doing in life, as opposed to compulsion, where, and it's going to be like, there's no compunction when you're at a feast of Solomon and he's provided everything. There's no compulsion when you're at a feast with Esther's husband. He provides everything, whether you want to drink, eat, but he doesn't say, like, drink, drink, like he wants to get something from you later. Two different ways of looking at it.
Yeah.
Might have made it more confusing.
Yeah. Motives.
Motives, because we do see Deuteronomy 14:26. I'm going to just hit it in the English Standard and get the start at verse 25, because I don't think this is really about tithes. Choose what you're going to do, yields your seed. Every 3 years, go pay your tithes. I'm going to pick it up in verse 24. Go there, bring your grain, wine, your firstborn. And if the way is too long for you, so that you are not able to carry the tithe when the Lord your God blesses you, because the place is too far from you, which the Lord your God chooses to set his name there, then you shall turn it into money and bind up the money in your hand and go to the place that the Lord chooses and spend the money for whatever you desire: oxen, sheep, wine, or strong drink, whatever your appetite craves. And you shall eat there before the Lord your God and rejoice, you and your household. And don't neglect the Levite. That just tells me, Randy, that paints a whole different picture of. I'm tired of hearing people talk about the Jehovah of the Old Testament was an evil God. It doesn't sound like it to me.
You mean forced generosity?
Yeah. I want you to take off time and go enjoy yourself. That sounds pretty good. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I would think, yeah, who wouldn't enjoy it? But yeah, hard to
yeah,
please everyone.
and when you tie that into, that's how they were paying their tithe. That puts a whole new twist on, the, well, they just want to suck my money out of. Well, did they really? Or is everything twisted? We're going to be talking about
A
some
forced vacation.
forced vacation, and doggone it, he is the omniscient, omnipotent God of the Spirit. He's going to know if you're faking having a good time. So don't even try it. Here's another one. Oh, matter of fact, I had that one up twice. Three times? Alan? Really? Now, in the days of Ahasuerus, that's King Xerxes married to the Esther, but not at this time. So he's reigning there, and he's going to have a party that lasts half a year. And he wants it to be a glorious splendid pomp party because he's got 127 provinces. That's a lot. He wants it all to be, what we don't do today with the white curtains, fine linen, purple cords, marble pillars, couches of gold and silver, mosaic payments. We see those around, but we don't do it. Drinks were served in golden vessels. The drinking, Randy, should always be according to this edict. There is no compulsion.
Yeah, just a quick question for a 6-month party, that continually catered. How long would it take to do the logistics on all the detailing?
It's got to happen fast, man. Because things could be like that. Because when Esther was chosen, how did it go down? It was like Esther's chosen. He threw another one of these parties. He goes like, wow, now I've got Esther. Send them out and bring them
Well,
in. He
yeah,
wants
there was a number of maidens, yeah,
right,
that
right. I don't know if
begin
there
there.
was the
Yeah,
exact date, but it was like the first month of Nisan, the 12th year. Boom, did it boom. All of a sudden, it was like, we're having a party. So the king's scribes were summoned on the 13th day of that first month. An edict was sent. And it goes like, look, we're going to have a party. So he had a contacts for the king's sit traps to all the governors, 127 of the officials of all those people in every province, even if they had their own script, because there was always only 3 countries in charge of everybody: the Medes, the Babylonians, and the Persians. And like I said the other night, King David interrupted them for a cup of coffee there at the top, and it's like, hey, look at me, you know, Jesus did this for me. So you got to, just send them out. Send out the letters. Send them out the runners. Get them out there. And as a matter of fact, they still have copies of this document, like the Cyrus decrees and things like that. I don't know if they have this exact one, but they got a bunch of them. He would write orders and just like, if it was really important to him, he put it in clay, and that hieroglyphics. Compulsion is the act or state of forcing or being forced to do something. Like, this payment was made under compulsion. Randy, I can't imagine you ever giving up your lunch money in the grade school, but that would have been by compulsion.
yeah,
Nobody's going to voluntarily just be like,
yeah,
hey,
forced, yeah, volunteering.
yeah. What do you mean? He gave me the money. Compunction is a feel, you know, with no compunction, because compunction is that little guilty feeling that you might be doing something bad, or you can spend money without compunction. You need it. Maybe like, if I don't get some gas, my car is going to run out. My children will be stranded or something. I don't feel like I'm describing that very well.
Would be, yeah, a conscience violation, probably, of some sort.
Right. We just don't want those nagging feelings. I think when I was reading it, I was thinking of Job and how, he would just be sitting around going like, well, maybe they just said something they didn't know, and he'd make offerings
For
and stuff, just out of
for children. Yeah. Yep.
like preventive maintenance, no
Yep.
misgivings, no qualms. The reason I brought this up, and there was, I, I couldn't find it. Good to see you, Marcella, and good to see you, Camille. I couldn't find this one quote where this guy was going like, "Man, I think Paco, I think you're gonna take off someday because you guys did this and you deserve more credit." And I'm going like, "Well, okay, whatever. I heard that before, but it doesn't it's pretty hard to sell the Bible, but we're going to, we keep doing it, not because, we want clicks, we want hits, we want to sell books, which is a big motive for a lot of people, but, you know, it's not by, for me, it kind of is by compulsion. The Lord called me and said, you have to go. And I was not into it at all. I was like, this sounds impossible. I don't even know what he was asking. So some people have it, some people don't. Getting off topic, but where we're going to be going is we've been led to believe different things, whether we want to admit it or not. And I don't know if I have any tabs pulled up on cognitive dissonance, but that's what they've done. And they've done it on purpose, and they've done it, it seems like from the very beginning. And 2015, when I was listening to the flat earth videos and Sylvie from the New Earth channel, and her complaint was, and everywhere they went, they always just paid them in beer and rum rations, and that was the common thing, that their plan all along was, well, this is how people act. They're going to need saloons, so let's provide it and let's make money off of it, and then let's, it's all tied in, Randy. The thing is I got one of these comments was, since you're it all is going to come back to who said it first, who started this movement. We did, and I better be prepared to give an answer, a biblical answer for all this mushrooms I've been taking. And he was friendly warning, he's friendly warning me. You better be ready to give an answer. And I'm there like, well, here's my answer. I did them. Here we are. And you're coming back here because the stones cried out to me in 3D. Maybe I could have done it without peyote. Peyote was involved. There's my answer. If you don't like the information of reading the Bible as it was written to those people, that the golden age is past, that the Armageddon is over because I did mushrooms, wow, that does seem crazy.
Well, when I was, drawn to the truth, I was compelled to do some things that were difficult to explain. All glory to God, certainly, for everything. Just the ability to recognize the opportunities, and yeah, it's to explain. I was compelled to do what I did
Exactly.
internally. It wasn't someone else demanding anything by any means, but I wasn't able to do anything other than what I was compelled to do.
I know, and everything we did was right. It always worked out. It was always right.
But
And tonight we're going to make more history. We're going to tie it in so good, of that whole of why it's working out like it is right now with, gee whiz, does it seem like white guys are about to get hammered and everybody in the world is turning on white people who used to rule the world? Yeah, it does seem like that, doesn't it? We'll explain why tonight. So let's quit the, that was a good long introduction, 13 minutes. We're going to
okay,
start with the Congress of Vienna. Everybody knows about that. It was the most amazing international diplomatic meeting possible. Lay out the new layout of the European political and constitutional order. This is right after Moscow got their ass kicked. And how did Washington, D.C. do it? How did we do in that war? When was it Dolly Madison or had to save the portrait of George Washington and the royal, not the royal silver, the Constitution, the government's. We have our own silverware in the White House, and she saved it, because they had to flee. Are we getting our ass kicked? And So after that, they made a deal with the French, the Austrians, and these people here, the white people. And the object was, long term peace. How do you think it worked out? Well, for the rest of the world, it was a remarkable run. What did it say in here somewhere? Like 68 years of peace across the world because of this treaty from these people with that double headed ego. And I think they just, the revolution was over. Things were getting settled out. How much was things really settled? If Satan's loosed in 1711, the Freemasons and everybody else are going around claiming land and saying we're doing this and that and passing these acts, and then knowing they're going to be colonizing, it didn't, it worked out well for a lot of people, but it didn't do that really good for the United States. This Talleyrand, I just found out how much power that guy had over everything. But the French and Spanish, they had the colonies. I've talked about it a long time ago. West Florida, East Florida, they were colonies. There were 15 colonies in 1776, is what I'm trying to say. 2 stayed with Spain because we still had to go through the Louisiana Purchase and everything else. But I wish I could have seen that. So it says that for 23 years before this remarkable negotiations, there was continuous war up to 1814 as they were, the mafias were spreading out saying, yeah, we got this, we got that. And then after that, I think it was up until what they consider like World War I before things really broke down. But they were all buying weapons and everything else. That might be a good time to see if I managed any pictures to help bolster my argument. So here's the Vienna Congress Part 2. This looks like a mini United Nations because you think back, well, they couldn't deceive the nations. Well, by 1814, after 26 years, we had our revolution where, we supposedly kicked England's ass, but in reality, we had people from Poland here, Marquette, Lafayette. The French were helping us. We couldn't have done it without them. And then immediately after that, here we ended up with these countries. These were the great powers, and these 3 other countries, Spain, Portugal, and Sweden, were allowed in to the mix. So that's kind of new agey, right? United Nations, World League stuff. So they were still dealing with this. Now, if they're showing this as the United States, why, this should be West Florida and East Florida still, I think. But we still had major parts of the country, and this up here would be Russia, because they were there. That's why, Louisiana was here, Spain was here. It wasn't a war just the United States fighting England. But we still had the manifest destiny thing, and these Spanish, Louisiana, and the Freemason Rosicrucians at the top of the United States government all had one thing in common: a plan that was very long-sighted. They were looking down the road quite a ways, I think. Randy. Oh. See this picture?
Yeah.
Are these telescopes to see the newly discovered planet of Mars in 1868? Or B, is this cloud seeding to make it rain in the West in 1881? Or are they just setting up for the 4th of July fireworks in Dodge City? That's number C. Which, choose one.
uh,
They're
Geez,
cloud.
it's a trick one. Uh,
Yep. They're deliberately,
Rainmaker.
they're
Yeah.
rainmaking. They were deliberate introduction of clouds of various substances that act as condensation nuclei, a word that had not been invented yet, in an attempt to induce precipitation. They charged 10 grand to make it rain. It's kind of cool.
Did it work?
Well, the article said sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Give them a couple of days. So the first people that made it over that Donner Pass, the Donner Pass was that, when they were eating each other. That was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
1846.
Allegedly, yeah.
These people made it. It was hard though. 1844. It had to be hard. Manifest destiny is attitude prevalent during the 1800s, during the period of American expansion, that the United States not only could, but was destined to stretch from coast to coast. As soon as they could get over the mountains. This one guy keeps putting out the craziest videos. He finds these weird things on Google Earth and just goes backpacking to see them. And boy, he finds some weird stuff. And that ledge right there, and it said mind boggling. So I'm there like, I'm going to save that. That's pretty cool. He woke up in the morning and these were over, on the cliff above his head. He got there kind of dark. He's there like, wow. He's just always going to strange places and stuff. Did you see the Conspiracy R Us's new video? He hit another home run today.
No, I didn't catch it as of yet.
It's another one about the pipes, but more interesting is they had kind of a Russian look. I think you told me you were watching this video when you noticed you might be needed to help me out. This is Wild Dog's new video.
Okay, and I'm not that far into it. I had
Pretty
that on
good,
that other tab when I seen you were going live.
pretty cool picture though, right?
It looks interesting.
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
bacteriophage. My friend Luther thinks they look like the lunar module, and I agree. They do. They do look like the lunar module, doggone it. And they also look like something else, because a needle comes out of here and goes into your skin and it shoots this stuff into you. You know what? It gets you sick. That's And then again, this is what people had better get used to. Welcome. You know, are they going to waste one generation calling out to the other, we're warning you, we're warning you, the things that your mind are prepared for in your call to duty video games, which that's a first person shooter, Randy. That means that you play the game through the eyes of all you see is the tip of your rifle or the gun you're using, so that you shoot whatever's in front of you. And it's coming. The these people were displaced because of opium wars in China. And now
And
they're just
that's part of the argument for the mass immigration, wasn't it? That they would be given jobs for doing some internal stuff here as far as our open
like
border. I know
building
that.
the railroads and stuff like that. The Chinese were big friends of the United States for a long time. Then they didn't need them anymore because it was something that having to do with Japan. I'm still working on it.
No, but the argument about the open borders, there's plenty of young men that would take
Oh
jobs
my
for, like, when the
goodness.
government wants to go into a lockdown, they would be wearing the uniforms for, yeah, enforcing, such a,
I
you know,
saw that on Redacted, and hey, we've been warned. Those people were standing at attention. They're Chinese people in their mid 30s,
because their
fit.
argument is the citizens here wouldn't do it on one another, but you get all these millions, coming across would be happy to
I
do it.
don't know who would do it or not. Here's
Yeah,
questions. How come so many American prisoners in the Korean War made those propaganda videos denouncing the United States? This is the video. What? How did they do it? How did they trick those Americans into renouncing such a perfect country? So this was just how it just was going over the process of brainwashing to cognitive dissonance. It's just that as soon as everything happened, since the armistice, World War I never ended. Everybody, it was an armistice. Since the armistice, they've done nothing. The United States and the Nazis. We studied that MK Ultra. It, we've considered the native people from India stupid. We've considered Russians stupid, Chinese stupid. But guess what? They also believed in Darwinism. They also believed they were the tip of the spear. And they also believed they weren't stupid. And they didn't treat other people like they were stupid. Only the white people did, because we, boom, it seems like got a push of a head start. And in all of our brutalities, it grew stronger and stronger, probably because of this kind of thing. This is a book by John Dee. He was the Queen's advisor and astrologer. And this is the book by the King James, the displaying, what is that? Something about witchcraft. And this was, 1600. They were getting ready for the loosing of Satan. It really couldn't. It all goes back to they were ready and waiting for the 1,000 years to be over. Something happened. This is an important book. I think I'm reminded now that I'm going to be pulling up some of these people as a possible thing for us to talk about, on the Lord's Day tomorrow.
sure.
But notice Japan and China, they're in on it, man. They were in with European and Japan. Look at them sitting in here with the white people, man. China, it's like we're going to take over the world. They got faked into believing that they would be considered white, like the Italians. That's how come in 1943, when the Nazis came back with their paperwork and they broke the Mussolini heart. They told him, you're not white, but you're not Jews. And that was supposed to make them feel better. And so in 1943, Italy's going like, well, if we're not white, we're not helping you no more. So take that. And that's when the Jewish mafia and Lucky Luciano, they said, well, now we're going to help the Nazis. We're going to blow up the ships in New York Harbor. So they had to make a deal with the Nazis and the Italians saying, we'll help you quit blowing them up if you help us push the Nazis out of Italy. So we invaded Italy in 1943. And they actually, in some places, had local mafia people on the tanks going, this way, this way. And that's how come we beat them pretty easily and gave them time to withdraw without wiping them off the face of the earth. But We pushed him to the sea, and the Nazis left, and you're still not white was their message.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, we're less than cozy back because he doesn't, I think that I know he's doing more good than harm, but I think that right now he had kind of stalled on that whole the clowns are Nephilim thing. But now, shoot, he's getting 2,000 subscribers a day because he's teaching about the millennial reign is over, the golden age is past, and Satan is loosed, and he doesn't believe in a flat earth, and he believes that he should go up to the top of a globe because that's where the Bible teaches the Christian city is going to be encompassed about. And I'm saying we should slow down before we start taking Paul as the real Bible teacher and instructor on this topic. That's all I'm saying. But I love the way, I mean, isn't that's just, they aren't real cozy. That's just, to me, that's awesome, Beck from Oz. And I'm so glad that your new dog is so cool. Yeah, he's a baller. He's a baller. He broke it down the other day when he was interviewing and he got challenged on it. And his position is it's no big deal. I assumed that he was a flat earther too. I would have liked to have seen that. So anyway, enough of the, so they had this peace thing and not a lot of real wars, just a few. Now, compared to the United States, how'd things go for us? Am I on the right one? Or did I close one out by accident? Oh, I'm way ahead of myself. We got to go over the colonial history of the United States. I just wanted to maybe show one picture. That's not it. Well, that's kind of cool. And we'll sneak up on it. I mean, where I live in the San Luis Valley, St. Louis, and everything else, man, it's all Spanish all the time. I mean, well, as you could really expect, it's Colorado, man. So, wow, that is a big presence. And again, these trails cross through our little valley here, where all the safe place. This is the safe place to live in this valley right here, or over here. This wouldn't have been a bad place either. When I was looking a little north of Flagstaff, that's a confusing map unless you know what it is. New Sweden. That's Plymouth Rock. That's so fake. Savannah, Georgia. They just have their star forts built there we cleared out all the trees and said, hey, we should lay out a town here. Where's that one picture? Well, here's one of West Florida, East Florida. See, they were colonies. Let's see when they gained their independence. Oh, it says lost by Spain in 1763, but that's not true. Oh, just this little part. No, because they were still states in 1776, not states, colonies. That was built in 1718, they'd have us believe. 80% of the buildings were built by stone in Germantown. Oh, well, I didn't see the one I wanted. And it's in the next one. There it is. See? Well, here, yeah, see, they make it last till 1783, which was before the Constitution, but after 1776. So there were 15 colonies. And they just piecemeal kind of, you know, in a way, it just fell into our lap in the United States. Here was, you know, that think of the other picture. Spain and France had major parts of the United States, but yet it just worked out perfect, as a matter of fact. You know, everybody's good with the 13 colonies. And it wasn't enough. Eventually, the manifest destiny and it wasn't going to be enough for the United States alone. We may expand as to include the whole world as early as 1859. Reuben Davis said that. Mexico, Central America, South America, Cuba. That's how the Kennedys say it. They wanted them all. What do you think of all this, Randy? Crazy, huh?
Yeah, a little history synopsis.
Puerto Rico's looking pretty yummy. Wonder why.
If you're not Jewish.
Hey, from what I understand is like there's a lot of Jewish people that, you know, they love a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich as well as everybody else. And that kind of is what,
Well, why not? Yeah.
yeah.
How
You
could you
know,
not enjoy it?
and if you're going to have a act in 1950 in Guam, I would always say make it organic. Switch, stretch, eat organic, and make your treaties organic. We got time to move on. So, here's my. So here's that thing I was telling you about. Here's our baller.
Oh, really? That joint venture with Shelley?
Yeah.
Agree with my stance on the
Yeah.
I agree with much of what my denomination follows, but when it comes to this, I see one of my lights has gone out. But when it comes to this, I I'm very much like you. I think it's very important that instead of worrying what our denominations say, we should worry about what the Bible says. And we should not be discouraged from looking into the Bible for ourselves. Be a Berean. And you asked before about my comments, and this is something that a lot of people have issues with in my comment section because they cannot get out of this mindset, the pre-trib. Now my other light just went out. Sorry, terrible timing. But this pre-trib mindset, and they can't wrap their minds around maybe that they may not live through the tribulation, maybe they will not be there for the millennial kingdom. And I that's why I think instead of just blindly following.
Randy, don't you think that she hit the nail? I mean, that's from what we've had in the 6, 7 years experience. That's it. Dispensationalists are so locked into, oh man, at least I get out of this mess.
Yeah. When's the rapture gonna take me away?
Right. And a lot of these people we were already full grown middle aged men in 1988 when these guys were going like, it's for sure the raptures. There's 88 reasons it's going to be in 1988. It's 40 years after Israel became a state again. They had 88 arguments, Randy, and not one of them really worked out.
No. Yeah. Correct.
But I just really hope that Paul, from understanding conspiracy, knows what he's getting into. Because it might be easy right now, but he's going to be hit with some pretty tough questions.
That means literally an army has marched up to surround something
Well,
specific, and we
as
theorize.
far as when it comes to acquiring a taste for crow, so to speak.
A taste for what?
Crow, eating crow, to acquire a taste.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if right now he's got, you know, 2 books about clowns and Nephilims that are not selling. And now he's up to, to 35,000 subscribers. He's growing because of the millennial reign thing. And he's going to write a book, and it's going to have a lot of things in it because he has not been one really seeped in doctrine. As he said, he was away from the Lord for quite a while. And that's not me just talking smack. That's, this is his welcome back revelation. First, the demons were clowns, welcome back to the Lord, and now this.
Well, yeah, in order to admit your failures, I suppose that's a beginning.
How's he gonna handle the people that, because whether or not we have, we had more subscribers before, we're growing now too, and eventually people are going to say, well, what about these guys that are down on the Trinity? What about, some of the other hard parts of this? I don't think I just want them all to be ready. Shelley backed off and then came back, but she went, she was full mud flood 2 years ago, and then she backed off. And then about 6 months ago, she came back full, it's the millennial reign time, so it just takes time. I hope the best for Paul. And he does mention later something I hope we can get to about how, Christians need to be willing to suffer for the Lord. And that's probably why they want to miss the tribulation or whatever.
Well, yeah, as far as evaluating evidence, everyone needs to do that or ought to, in their own way, in their own time.
Well, doggone it, that reminds me of something too. Now, you used to hint at it, that there was something in those Ezekiel chapters, the late ones, where they were building it and it was inverted like an upside down pyramid, or the base was going up.
Yeah.
And
well,
out.
yeah.
Okay, I never found anything on it, and I could tell you, you wanted me to look at it. I did. Well, I was looking at it again, and I still don't get it. Why? What am I looking for?
Well,
I mean,
how it's described, the description and the dimensions, and it tells you as it goes higher, it gets wider. But
no, but there's no real, and all of that has, I'm pretty much determined that that's not the home with many mansions. That's not the end home. That was something in the temple.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm barking up the right tree, but I still don't get it.
The Earth, which would be the North Pole from a geographical location, but I was thinking from a perspective situation, you wouldn't have to consider it. It's surrounded as long as the whole Earth, other than that one location, starts believing in Satan's plan and follows his system. Then the camp of saints is surrounded by its enemies. Then there wouldn't have to be a knowledgeable idea of, okay, we are all specifically going to go to war right now.
Nobody ever looks at my word study for camp, and it always means castle or barracks, and it's only one time translated camp, and that's from that John D. And then the other people just stayed with it, the ESV, the New KJV. But it's never, that word is never a camp, unless it's talking about the camp in the desert, in the wilderness, or it's a castle or a barrack. Try to catch him here. Any comment on that, Randy?
No, I think you explained your point. Yep.
Yeah, when they go to look at the word, they're not going to find out that it means a big
tent
city
city
hiding somewhere.
Into one thing. I
Yeah,
noticed that
Tent
even
City.
on both sides of the church, I grew up in a church that many people nowadays would consider to be a very liberal church. I grew up going to a Lutheran church, which is it's very much like the Catholic Church. And my parents, they would kind of just drop me off.
I get the same thing, Randy, when I tell people I'm a Presbyterian. They'll go like, "Oh, you mean you guys are the ones that baptize or ordain women?" And I go like, "No, what are you talking about?" And sure enough, though, there aren't very many conservative Lutherans and Presbyterians.
Probably not any longer. Correct.
It was pretty slim pickings even before we're starting a whole new religion now. But I was happy conservative Presbyterian. I really was. And then let's hear.
Yeah, it's kind of well, to me, it's a little humorous of their doctrinal differences, but then miss the whole ship on everything, that
Right.
we
There's
feel.
500 years of arguing about nothing important.
Yeah, well, I
It
mean,
was
it's
important that I go
minimal
for tradition's
importance.
sake.
Yeah.
They didn't really go to church unless it was Christmas Eve. But I remember though in the sermons that every time that the pastor would talk about the second coming of Christ, he would be talking what I now know to be the white throne judgment. I never heard of the millennial kingdom or the short season. I never heard of the 1,000 years the entire time growing up at that church. And I went to that church until I was about 29. So never heard of it. It was kind of all mashed together. He's going to come again. They didn't even really talk about the tribulation, to be honest. They just talked about the second coming, and that was then we were all going to be judged, and that would be the end of it. But then on the other hand, when I started going to an evangelical church, the focus was on the millennial kingdom, on the tribulation and the millennial kingdom. But they kind of left out the white throne judgment. As you mentioned before, it was like the millennial kingdom and then the white throne judgment are kind of all together, because once Jesus comes back, we're all going to rule with him forever and ever. Amen. And
I think this is the part, but that is a big deal to dispensationalists, is that they get to miss the tribulation. I know that was a big deal for people that I love that, it was like, no, don't tell me I'm going to, and some of it was kind of like, nah, they're going to have to go through it. They think they're so smart, Couple more minutes of this, I guess.
yes,
I can't leave this topic just to one side because it seems to upset people. It's too big. It's too important. And again, maybe perspective is what matters here, because again, I have a foundation of conspiratorial thinking. I've been examining the control over the world for a while and trying to figure out what's this all about. Why? And I knew it had a lot to do with Christ. I always knew that. It's all to do with whatever happened here with Jesus, which is why I'm a Christian, But this just feels like a missing piece. This sorts the timeline out, this makes sense of the motives. Because that's another question, never mind millennial reign. A question I would always get as a conspiracy theorist is, why would they do this? Who has the time to do that? What do they have to gain from
That's good though, right, Randy? I mean, he does see it. I mean,
It's a pertinent question to ponder, for sure. And then answers may vary, I would think, but it's a good question.
Right. And he said, it's the missing. It's what was missing. And that's what we felt. That's what we believed. It was like something was missing. And when it clicked, and what I can't, what I guess I am impatient for is that when people come back around and now it's all settled, this is how you read the Bible, and they're all going to breathe a big sigh of relief and go, wow, that was a missing. I said, that's just the start of what's missing. The stones are body parts of titans, and they cried out to the same people that.
That's just it. You were a stickler,
Exactly.
staying with the Bible, not that you can't find some other evidence, but sticking with the Bible, the stationary earth, the clock in the firmament, uh, and then what else? How deep is this pile of manure that we've been living in? Is and sticking with the Bible.
You got to stick. We have and we will. And when they're done getting all of this sorted out, we're right there waiting for you that say, and after we did that, we found out that in keeping with what I had been told to live by through a vision, that everything Jesus said was true, and that had to include that the stones could have cried out. And that is what led us to the
For a
rock,
reason
the
other
body
than
parts.
uh, for a reason other than the beam crying out, or uh yeah
Yeah, the beam will
the
cry
stone
out to
crying
the
out to the
stone.
beam, and the beam answers. There's a reason those scriptures are in the Bible, not just to be weird. That
Right.
there's a legitimate reason for that.
And we're waiting right there for them when they want to say, okay, we've read the
And
Bible.
and it's
We're
all
reading the
glory to
Bible.
God. It's
And we're going
always,
to, exactly, because God did this, because he's showing, basically, wait, you're a draftsman who ended up running steam for Del Monte. I'm a basketball coach that ended up running warehouses. And now there can be no denial, because we found that missing link, because the Lord let it. You helped support this ministry, kept it going. And so, you're brought in because of the stones that cried out. And it is so much that people will say, okay, you good, you got the 1,000 years. What did John the Baptist mean when he told the Jews? It doesn't mean you're a descendant of Abraham because you're here now and a Jew. God can raise up descendant of Abraham's from these stones. And those
and
are
he will.
line upon line, precept upon precept, something that if we would have just been like the flat earth brothers or some of the other people of yay, 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 it's a flat earth and that's everything, instead of realizing there is so much more to this whole
Oh,
cover up.
oh, absolutely.
QB gives a good questions and things like that. Let's hit these from QB and then we're going to move on. Take this one, Randy. The North Pole focus gives me vibes. If they're going to see that way, the broad expanse of the earth could well be the Antarctic Treaty. They are marching, patrolling now, surrounding us. Well, they are, but I think they're going to really squeeze us at the end. So, any
Yeah,
comment?
in more than one way. Yeah.
Oh, here he is. That making us the camp and city, individual and collectively. That's kind of what we're going for, or what I'm going for at least, is that wherever two or three are gathered, and being encompassed about implies running away. And when people are running away because they're not going to kill somebody, take a human life, when we are supposed to beat our swords into plowshares, we'll just run and hide. That's what it's all about. And you're going to find these barracks and castles and places where there will be survival. But it's always like spiritual Israel. Randy, am I reaching too far? We're like, you know, spiritual Israel is all nations and tribes. I'm thinking that spiritual camp of the saints, that blessed city, is all tongues and tribes
Yeah,
everywhere.
that's literally. Yeah, you're not reaching. That's
Yeah,
a
it's,
literal interpretation.
it's
Yeah,
exactly.
race and uh,
It's what we got. So
look.
again,
No.
we got the Pazric culture, Again, it's going back to Asia fell away. But as we study them, just reminder, they dressed like the people in the pictures with it called the Middle Ages. This was their horse's bridle. So at the time of Christ, we need to stop putting them on any type of a caveman situation. I was trying to just say, like, remember the Shays Rebellion?
I can't recall it, but
Me either. But I know a little bit about it now. Check it out.
The American Revolutionary War secured the United States its independence. But at what cost? After 8 long years of fighting, many states found themselves crippled with debt. Former soldiers from the now disbanded Continental Army were still owed wages and were unable to make ends meet. Tensions came to a head in 1786 with Shays' Rebellion, a bloody civil insurrection. Daniel Shays had been a captain in the Continental Army and had fought valiantly. His family owned over 250 acres of land in the Massachusetts Bay Area. But with the economy in tatters, Shays was forced to sell over half his land to pay debts. He laid the blame squarely on the state government of Massachusetts, which aggressively pursued taxes. This hit farmers in the western portion of the state especially hard. Having borrowed money to grow grain to feed the Continental Army during the war, a tax hike felt like a personal affront. Unable to pay, many lost their farms to foreclosures. Others faced imprisonment. Resentment was growing.
Yeah, in my mind, I had this whole thing like worked out about how it could be like, remember Farm Aid in the 70s, Randy?
the Willie Nelson.
Yeah, they were stealing the farmers' land, so they had rock and roll and country and big concerts to raise money and awareness. This is what was going on. So you notice it's 1786. They claim that this is what forced them to write the Constitution.
A former officer in the Continental Army, to quash the rebellion. Lincoln was able to recruit several thousand militiamen, paid for by merchants from Boston, who were sympathetic to the government's plight. Shays' regulators needed weapons to stand a chance. So in January 1787, they attempted to rob a federal armory in Springfield, which was guarded by state militia. In the ensuing battle, 4 regulators were killed and 20 wounded. When Benjamin Lincoln's men arrived in the region, the outcome was all but inevitable. It was over. The government hanged just 2 ringleaders and pardoned the vast majority of the rebels, including Shays himself. They also decided to cut taxes and gave farmers and soldiers more time to pay off their debts. Daniel Shays and his followers may have lost the battle, but ultimately,
when I hold
their
it down,
actions
it
forced
goes
the Massachusetts
fast.
government to listen to the little man.
So this is how the America teaches, wow, we always had another James Brown, or who's the John Brown Rebellion, stormed the armory. So Shays' Rebellion. Right before the Constitution, we had presidents from 1776 until then, and they say that they were just 2-year terms. So I found this again in the Springfield Armory. That's like Springfield Arms. They've been making guns from the beginning. Now here's just a list of, because we started off a long time ago with that. Europe did that after they kicked our ass in the War of 1812. In Moscow and Russia got their ass kicked. There was pretty much peace over there for quite a while until things started dusting up, leading into the World War I that never ended. It's an armistice. I just wanted to show you how many in the United States, though. We always had. And because I think they're constantly pushing, distracting, and all of these, from the loosing of Satan. And it's just like there's no peace in the United States, man. Oh. race riots, slave rebellions. Hey, I hear your new clock.
Well, we've been on for about an hour now. Yeah.
Yeah, hallelujah. So we're ripping through here now. This won't take long because we're almost to the Bible study. It just seems like a lot of crap was going on. This one here, the dead rabbits.
Busy times. Yeah. Definitely.
The dead rabbits are as much mafia controlled as all of the other corruption in New York, including Tammany Hall, which controlled the politics. But just straight up the dead rabbits, that's a pretty big gang for back then. Bill the Butcher. They made a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio about it and just told the truth. It was basically a taken over town, and the gangs just had control because there were rich people making money, but everybody was on the take. Fairly interesting things going on with the dead rabbits. Finishing off, it just never stopped. Although they had peace in Europe, the United States was spreading its colonial wings and ended up over 500 treaties that they broke. Some treaties were in effect for 100 years and they still broke them all, took all the land and said this was our manifest destiny. Look at this list. Gadsden riot. These are things, a lot of these were in, Colorado, because Colorado is their punk. Whenever they need oil, whenever they need gas, they just, they have people here and they go like, okay, now you're an oil worker. Okay, I'm an oil worker. And then they work them like slaves. So look at this. The list goes on, and it will continue to go on this election year, Randy. Guess it's
the nonsense isn't going to go away.
Right. And I'm going on record that, anybody that thinks that this is going to be the worst, this is not the worst, but right. Antifa. Oh, those days are over. What COVID taught us a lesson. Everything's going to settle down now. We're in the 2000s. These are since we, started spreading the missing link of the Bible and Donald Trump. It's just more still taking Native American pipeline things, Charlotte riots, Milwaukee riots. It's the same recycled news, but it's going to just keep getting worse.
Yep.
This is a slowdown, people. This is not a reconstruction. I don't even know who
the Neolithic people first exploited for decorative beads. It's perhaps not too surprising that a society that could support specialist craftsmen and artists, especially potters with a mastery of controlling fire and converting minerals into pigments, would soon discover the secret of the metal within the ores. They discovered that ores could be smelted to extract copper, and while most objects like decorative beads, sheets, and wires were hammered and rolled into shape, they also developed molds for casting tools like copper axes and chisels.
Yeah, it's hard, but guess what? It's like alchemy is not that hard once you know the right chemicals. Look at this guy gave up. Man, this was like I lost 2 games and then I finally won one. And then when I did win, it was like I was all over him, man. But I usually try to say at least try to get a draw, because that's how I'm going to practice running away. You want to talk about this, Brother Randy? Randy?
Well, I was there was a guy that put out a video. I thought it was like 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was 3 or 4
on the subject of the millennial reign, and then I dropped a truth bomb on that one about 10 days, 2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah.
And then he came out with another one. And then I was dropping comments, replies on comments. And then this one cat, uh, I don't know what his education level is, but it's a little different.
It didn't include Bible school, that's for sure.
Well, he had some twisted way of saying that. I mean, it was like a formula, and then the spirit is light at the
Yeah.
or more or less, and so, and that Jesus Christ was just another, human being, no different than anyone else, and
Yeah.
whatever he did, means absolutely nothing. There's, that's his, uh,
Right. Like,
you know,
and then he followed it up with even something more stupid.
well, he had some pretty stupid stuff before this, but it culminated into that last statement where it means absolutely nothing to him, and my argument was. I wasn't in agreement with his nonsense. But yeah,
Oh,
that's the
yeah. I
channel.
don't have a problem with Jason Jack, the guy who did this video. I'd be
No, right.
interested in
No,
witnessing to this man. I like him. But it's the other knucklehead that's in the comments. That's who we're talking about. I just
yeah,
don't want people to see the title of the video and think that we were talking about Jack. No,
no, oh, no, not him at all. I mean, I dropped him, like I said, a truth bomb on that 4-year-old one, like I say, about 10 days ago, and then lo and behold, uh,
well, at first that's what I kind of thought, is that he said something later I missed, but then when I went back and reread it, I saw what you meant.
yeah,
But
he
look at
had
this
like
cool name, Organic Flat Earth Prepper. That sounds so cool. Where is that guy, David?
he's way at the bottom, or he was a day ago
There's
when I
yours,
got that comment at 7:30 in the morning.
right?
Yeah, that
Here's
was
part
one
of
that I.
the partial truth drop.
Yeah, that was to Jack, but and then and if you, I mean, there was a few of these replies that I replied
Right.
to,
Well, we
but
got to get to the Bible study.
yeah, but the one on that
Maybe I saved it. Or was going to save it.
oh, there you left a comment, huh? Cup right
Did
there,
I?
you left a comment, and then you have a comment to the next one as you scroll down. There was another one of your comments right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes I'll make the comments.
yeah, replying to comments. Yeah,
Right.
and that's
I
what
just
I
wanted
was
to
doing.
remind people, about the one drop rule before we get into this Bible study. I just think it's abhorrent. I don't like it. I want people to understand that, like Hispanics weren't historically underserved. They were legally protected because they had false science of eugenics that said they were not as equal as white people. They should just be happy whatever they get. And that it's not South Africa. The one drop rule was the legal principle of racial classification that was prominent in the last century, the 1900s in the United States. It wasn't just like you're half black, you can't come on our bus. It was like you got one drop of black blood. No, that's just not anything that the United States needs. We didn't need the Racial Integrity Act of 1924 to get even more specific, about, they weren't doing enough. Now it's just kind of like, what was left, Are they going to kill them? Well, yeah, they started like killing some of them.
Well, yeah, the KKK was.
It was the government. It was the government. It
Well,
wasn't This was all legal. Virginia Assembly passing the Racial
Yeah.
Purity Acts. The KKK were just the people that voted them in.
Well, there was a lot of them that were in the government that were also members of, the KKK as well. But you're right.
Right. And I'll bet you some of those had hiding black bloodlines and stuff, but they didn't know what they were doing because they were being taught, because the Rosicrucian Jesuits brought out Charles Darwin, just like they brought out Galileo, Copernicus, and the other people they bring out when they want to change the world and to get people to not trust the Bible. They go, oh, the Bible is just, it's not really the center of everything that Jesus is involved in. It's just one planet among billions. It's all this, it's pseudoscience. They believed you could rub somebody's head and tell how smart they were. They believed in eugenics because of social Darwinism. White people were on top, black people were on the bottom. Doesn't matter where you fell in between. It's the same thing over and over again. I didn't even know what a blood quantum law is. Oh, this is how they finally they had to exclude some of these people that were related to the Pocahontas royalties, because a lot of those people bred. And so they cut some really crazy slack for the people of certain tribes, the Pocahontas clause and stuff. I'm telling you, it's been our national pastime to get to where we are today. We got way too many scriptures for tonight, Randy.
I did remember that guy's name, that Neil deGrasse Tyson.
So did I. I did
yeah.
look it up. I waited until I remembered it. And it took about an hour.
Yeah, I was, when I said we were going to Oshkosh, that's where I remember.
And then you were just on the way, it popped in your head.
Yeah. About, the guy said that last question, that was this morning, right? So what is spirit? And I tried to think of that guy's name, how he's explaining what is gravity. It'd be like that, only gravity is fake.
We can't tell you what it is. We could just tell you what it does.
Yeah. Right. Good.
I'm going to read the first 4 verses, and then I would like to, without compunction or compulsion, elicit a response. Check this out. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, say to the prince of Tyre, thus says the Lord God, because your heart is proud, and you have said, I am a god. I sit in the seat of the gods, in the heart of the seas. I emphasize that. I'm going to do it again. In the heart of the seas, yet you are but a man and no God. Though you make your heart like the heart of a god, you are indeed wiser than Daniel. No secret is hidden from you. All right, I meant to say I'm going to read through verse 3 and then try to do all that, get a comment thing. But that's pretty cool, right? Wiser than Daniel?
Yeah, that's quite the attribute, certainly.
Yeah.
But I think there's a but coming.
Yeah, but that's still God. God said it. He was indeed wiser than Daniel. So that now we have a level, because Daniel's way up there in the Bible.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. By your wisdom and your understanding, you have made wealth for yourself. Nice rhyme right there. And have gathered gold and silver into your treasuries. By your great wisdom in your trade, you have increased your wealth, and your heart has become proud in your wealth. That's hard to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore,
maybe not. Maybe not.
Yeah. I was made to do this job. Nobody can, pick up garbage, bag groceries, punch this button, test this blood, sew up this heart. Nobody can do that like me. Bullshit. With the right training, a bunch of people could do that. How long do you have to stitch up people's heart before it gets boring? Therefore, behold, I will bring foreigners upon you. Now, this is pretty descriptive too. The most ruthless of nations. Right? I've got. You better start warming up because you're taking over the whole lament over the king of Tyre, if you don't mind, Randy. That's pretty hard. That's pretty hard. And they shall draw their swords against the beauty of your wisdom and defile your splendor. Well, that's just average ruthlessness. They shall thrust you down into a pit. Okay, well, that's getting worse. And you shall die the death of the slain in the heart of the seas. Will you say, I am a god in the presence of those who kill you? Though you are but a man and no God, in the hands of those who slay you? You shall die the death of the uncircumcised by the hand of foreigners, for I have spoken, declares the Lord God. Wow, that's done deal.
Yeah.
This is, if anytime you want to get in here, if like things get weird, like when he's in the midst of the fiery stones, go ahead and just pause and give your explanation.
Well, lists some nice.
Are you gonna? Are you? Do
You want me to read this?
Yeah, por favor.
Oh, okay. Moreover, the word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, raise a lamentation over the king of Tyre, and say to him, Thus says the Lord God, you were the signet of perfection, full of wisdom and beauty, and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was your covering. Sardius, topaz,
Wow.
and diamond, beryl, onyx, and jasper, sapphire, emerald, carbuncle, and crafted in gold were your settings and your engravings. On the day that you were created, they were prepared. You were an ornament garden cherub. I placed you. You were on the holy mountain of God. In the midst of the stones of fire you walked. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created till unrighteousness was found in you. In the abundance of your trade, you were filled with violence in your midst, and you sinned. So I
Wow.
cast you as a profane thing from the mountain of God, and I destroyed you, O guardian cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire.
Let's
Your
just
heart was
pause there
proud.
for a second, Randy.
Sure.
Let's pause there for a second because I think we should unpack this because this is like the first real even allusion back to it could be the king of Tyre instead of like the anointed cherub, you're the appointed one that's ready to go, but now it's like a hint back to in the abundance of your trade, you were filled with violence in your midst and your sin. And I was trying to think about 1 John chapter 3, verse 8. There wouldn't have been trade in heaven when he was walking among the midst of the stones or anything. This is pretty much about the king of Tyre then, right? But how to get I don't remember any king of Tyre being cast as a profane thing from the mountain of God.
Yeah, I don't know if he's using that as Satan, because it certainly has all of those attributes that you would associate.
Well, that's on my list, brother. I'm going to have to go back and study that some more. That whole mist of stones of fire thing is hard. So these are 3 long verses you got to knock out, brother.
17.
Yeah.
Your heart was proud because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. I cast you to the ground. I exposed you before kings to feast their eyes on you by the multitude of your iniquities. In the unrighteousness of your trade, you profaned your sanctuaries. So I brought fire out from your midst. It consumed you, and I turned you to ashes on the earth in the sight of all who saw you. All who know you among the peoples are appalled at you. You have come to a dreadful end and shall be no more forever.
Right. And things get even worse for Sidon. I know that's done with the allusions to, you know, Satan and the war in heaven. There's a lot there. There's so
Yeah.
much. And it gets harder the more you read it. I'm just going to read a little bit more.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes back, to that verse in what, First John chapter 3, verse 8.
Right. It
You
does.
know,
The reason that Christ came was to deal with sin in heaven. That's why he came to
the
earth.
works of the devil, and
Yeah.
anyone that is involved with his works is the works of the
Yeah, he's
devil.
the father of lies and the whole thing. But this Tyre and Sidon, Sidon, Tyre, Nineveh, populace no. I can't wait. I'm not going to read anymore. This is weird though too. This will get all the tree people excited, Randy. Ezekiel 31, verse 10. Therefore, thus says the Lord God, because it towered high and set its top among the clouds, and its heart was proud of its height, I will give it into the hand of a mighty one of the nations. He shall surely deal with it as its wickedness deserves. I have cast it out. Let those people have fun with these verses. Because they think they got the whole Bible figured out and they're ready to move on to all these other books. And I'll guarantee you, if they ever say like, "Oh, I understand you have some questions for me, Paco." Yeah, I got more than a few, because right now we're baby milking this thing to get it off the ground. Verse 12, foreigners, the most ruthless of nations, we already heard about those guys, have cut it down and left it. Now it's a tree. On the mountains and in all the valleys, its branches have fallen, and its boughs have been broken in all the ravines of the land, and all the peoples of the earth have gone away from its shadow and left it. On its fallen trunk dwell all the birds of the heavens, and on its branches are all the beasts of the field. All this in order that this is the weirdest verse yet. All of this in order that no trees by the waters may grow to the towering height or set their tops among the clouds, and that no tree that drink water, that's all of them. Oh, yeah, I should have said that as a plural. Seems like I learned that before. And that no trees that drink water may reach up to them in height. That's the clouds. For they are all given over to death, to the world below. That's in the dust. Among the children of men, with those, who are they going down? Those who are going down to the pit. What? That just took a crazy turn, right?
Yeah.
Okay, man. You want to read the next couple ones there?
Sure. Thus says the Lord God, on the day the cedar went down to Shiloh, I caused mourning. I closed the deep over it and restrained its rivers, and many waters were stopped. I clothed Lebanon in gloom for it, and all the trees of the field fainted because of it. I made the nations quake at the sound of its fall. When I cast it down to Shiloh with those who go down to the pit, and all the trees of Eden, the choice and the best of Lebanon, all that drank water, were were comforted in the world below. They also
Oh,
went down to Shiloh with it, to those who are slain by the sword. Yes, those who were its arm, who lived under its shadow among the nations. Whom are
wow.
you, thus like in glory and in greatness among the trees of Eden? You shall be brought down with the trees of Eden to the world below. You shall lie among the uncircumcised with those who are slain by the sword. This is Pharaoh and all his multitude, declares the Lord God.
Wow. So that's where Pharaoh and all his multitudes ended up too. But that's not the only thing there. They got these, wow, the trees of Eden and stuff. They brought down to the trees below. They had that one that some,
I
wow.
don't know. Does it is comforted? Is that supposed to be like sarcastic?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But it's like, what? Why is anybody getting comforted in hell?
Well, that's what I mean.
I know.
It'd be it would be that sort of, is it because comforted implies, uh
I was
being
reading this today
being
too, and I
taken
was
in,
thinking, yeah.
being graciously taken in, and maybe that is a way of, you'll be graciously taken in to hell and comforted in that way if you can, you know, uh
Or if these are the people that are sleeping in the dust who aren't part of the first resurrection and everything is waiting for judgment, even trees? I don't know. I don't want to go there. The only thing I do is, you know how much I love to make history, right? And there's been this long debate, and I know you've been a part of it. Does a tree make a sound if there's nobody there to hear it when it falls in the forest, Well, I think here, verse
well,
16 proves it, that with these big trees, when the nations quaked when he made one of them fall when they were getting ready to go
well,
down to
they've
the
taken
pit.
them frequency things, like, it has uh sensitive like like a dog's ears or whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
where
yeah.
and they record the forest. You haven't seen it. You've seen them videos, right? I mean,
Yeah,
there's something going on that you don't realize, certainly.
yeah.
And few take the initiative to, find out some of that stuff. And yeah, maybe some things can be fake, but it sure seemed legitimate on some of the ones, yeah, that I've clicked on.
What
I
I
believe I believe it's real enough.
that they make sounds when they fall, or birds when they're what?
No, yeah, yeah, yeah. If a yeah, no, it isn't that. It's just the
The
trees,
vibrations.
whatever. Yeah, the frequencies. Yeah, there's yeah, the
Right.
nature's
They have
music.
them on camera. It seems like 1,000 deer at one time put their head up and start running the other way from an earthquake.
You know, not just birds. And
Birds.
other animals. These are the sounds that, yeah, the forest makes.
Yeah.
And it's not just wind, whistling through the leaves and the
No.
branches. The way the way I understood it, it was there's some sort of frequency resonance and whatever pitch. I mean, you need the
Yeah.
human ear isn't capable, but with the right uh,
Man, that's
equipment.
getting into the whole spirit world spooky stuff, huh? Because it
Well, I don't
does.
know if it's
If you
spooky.
don't have
I
your
don't.
mind right when you go out and you stay alone in the forest, it's weird. I've done it plenty. You
Yeah,
know,
but not that you can't be comfortable in it. It's yeah. It is whatever you perceive, I
well, you can't.
suppose.
You could be very uncomfortable. Most of the time, I was doing, was in the military, and all we had was one half of a pup tent and whatever you could do. So here's this word, Randy. I just wanted to look that up. The exact other one besides Ezekiel 31 is they were comforted in the nether parts. Israel repented them for Benjamin that, oh man, now we can't get them any wives. What are we going to do?
Yeah, that's when the concubine was all cut up into a dozen pieces and sent throughout the.
So here's the word: to be sorry, console oneself. We can't stick on this word. We got to keep rolling, man. We got some more Bible. 44. Here we go. What are they talking about? Ezekiel 44, verse 15. But the Levitical priests, the sons of Zadok, who keep the charge of my sanctuary, when the people of Israel went astray from me, shall come near to me to minister to me, and they shall stand before me to offer the fat and the blood, declares the Lord God. They shall enter my sanctuary, and they shall approach my table to minister to me, and they shall keep my charge. When they enter the gates of the inner of the court, they shall wear linen garments. They shall have nothing of wool on them while they minister. This is, nothing that causes sweat. And then they're reminded, take them off. It's holy because they had been ministering in the holy chamber. So, and it just take them off and put on your other garments. At least they transmit holiness to the people with their garments. They shall not shave their heads, trim their hair. No priest drink wine when you're entering, drinking on duty. Keep them all. The Lord shall be their inheritance. I am their inheritance. They're their first fruits. It's all good of everything. I just wanted to not read Ezekiel 38 all the time. Okay, so this was the environment that they were working in. We just saw some of the rules and strictures. Now, here you go. Are people even realizing, that even when I talk about, we've got to look at the Bible as a Starfort world. We got to look at it as a huge Starfort world. It's like, it's the better of the big Starforts. You know what I mean? It's just like, and basically when they're talking about this kind of stuff, they're going like 25,000 by 10,000 cubits. Well, that's the sanctuary, the most holy place. So where John the Baptist's dad was ministering to was 25,000 cubits long and 10,000 cubits broad. Am I reading that right?
That's what it's saying. So yeah, it's going to be 3 miles by not by more than 7.
Or is this says it's the whole holy district?
Yeah,
in the
but that's like
Starfort.
3 by 7 miles, isn't it?
It's a lot.
Or
I
more.
wonder if it says it on the bottom. Yeah, well, 1 cubit is 18 inches, so yeah, it's well over a foot. And so
well, it'd be
5 miles. Yeah, so yeah, you are right. You're looking like
roughly.
Right, roughly.
5,
roughly, you're looking at a 4 by 5 miles stretch.
Well, more than that. It'd be 3 miles the one way, but then it's more than double that the other way. So I say it's like 3 by 7, pretty close.
Right. It's safe to say that this first part here is 5 miles. And then you have to times it by this part here, which it would be close to 4 miles.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a square total of 20 square miles. That's a lot. That's a boatload. I don't know what in the 500 by 500 cubits, that's what the sanctuary is. That's still pretty darn big.
Oh, yeah.
That's a basketball court.
Well, yeah, I was looking at the 10 by 20. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So, look, We read Ezekiel in 3 different places and didn't even run into Gog and Magog, which is everywhere in this book. What's this? And the Lord said to me, Son of man, mark well, see with your eyes and hear with your ears all that I shall tell you concerning all the statutes of the temple of the Lord and all its laws, and mark well the entrance to the temple and all the exits from the sanctuary. All right. Well, I was still kind of looking into a lot of weird stuff in Ezekiel. Back to 31, I will. So there's like they're made the nation shake, cast the goyim, the goy, down into the hell, and it is technically they call it Sheol. Alive, then you will understand. Okay, they're descending alive and understanding. Yikes. Cast him down. So it's 16 and 17. But before that, 2 in Numbers 16, the brothers they didn't know they were talking to Joseph, their other brother, but they were saying, you can't, we have to take, let me stay, you take this one back because my dad will die if we do not bring his son back. So it's the grave is basically what they're talking about. And I think that this just ties into that unless you were one of the people who said, there's the beast, there's the mark, I don't want none of it. That's the only people that were that blessed first resurrection. And all of these other saints, beasts of the fields, maybe, or big trees, or whatever, everybody else is in the grave, man. They're just sleeping. They call it, and some people say, I don't believe in soul sleep, or then don't call it soul sleep. Call it something else. But somehow people that die, they're just waiting. And I don't know if some are conscious or not, Randy. Crying out loud. It just seems weird, right?
Well, we'll all each have our own experience with it.
We will. We will. And you know what else I was thinking about? That even if we're not in the blessed first resurrection, to be adopted into the family and have a chance to work up from slavery to serve one of those people would still put us in pretty close conjunction to the light, of
sort of like the cupbearer.
Right. We just want to get close, right?
Yeah,
we want to, all we really need to do to be close to the light is be willing to be really good servants now, and then it'd be like you get gold, silver, precious stone built up. I don't know how they did it then, or if we're doing it exactly like they did, but it says in 1 Corinthians that once you're saved by grace, there's been works that have been laid out from before the foundation of the earth that we've been equipped with the talents to do, and we should do them. And we're graded on how well we do them. We're already saved by grace as long as you don't get blotted out. And it does seem you have to work at getting blotted out. Doesn't it? I mean, encourage him. I want to encourage the people.
Yeah, you should be working out your own salvation with fear and trembling, certainly.
Yeah.
But
it's a big deal to get blotted out of the book of life. It's not something that happens just like, boom, I'm just blotting you out for no apparent reason. I think it's some hardness of the heart, maybe, that people work up to. I'm spitballing because I see that Muddy Orphans is in the house. Welcome in Muddy Orphans. Good to see you there, man.
Yeah, he labeled it right. Yeah, Satan's servants. Yeah,
He, hey,
no
did you
doubt.
see that? You remember Tala, Kingdom Within? Uh,
Uh,
where's
yeah,
that Seattle Seahawk hat? It's been doing
uh,
millennial reign things for well over a year and a half or something like that. He's moved up to Washington. I just checked out his videos. He's up in Washington, the state of Washington.
right.
I thought he was in the Utah. I'm gonna have a cigarette, everybody.
Well, apparently that must be where he wants to be, and good for
It
him.
looks like it's a really nice place, but he had to walk. The one video I was going to tune into because I watched a couple of because I bought the same phone that he bought because he's showing little tricks on how to use it.
The Google thing.
The Pixel
Right.
6. Yep.
Yeah.
A long time ago, I told with the Lord, because it did seem kind of like I was almost negotiating of like, look, I'm already old and getting older. I can't do all these channels. And I got to just stick with YouTube and we'll make it work. So I've tried some of the other channels and stuff, and I want to get more into them. But as long as I just keep doing something, I know that the Lord will bless. We've got a little bit of time. I hope you do. Randy,
Yeah,
we got
we're at
a
100 minutes, so yeah.
couple more verses and see if anything jumps out or we can save them for this morning for some reason. And he drives furiously, this Nimshi. It just seemed that was crazy. I think that's what I got to this word to
A chariot
drive.
driver?
Yeah, the chariot driver. So I won't stay long on that verse. Deceiving and carrying away my daughters. I was looking at these words as people get carried away, and it just didn't click with me until I had to look it up, and then it was, oh, you're carrying away my daughters. Laban was all really mad. What have you done? You have tricked me and driven away my daughters like captives of the sword. Just an interesting verse because he didn't really trick them. He was sneaking away from a guy that was a maniac. You know what I mean? That's not quite tricking you.
Well, no, they were all in agreement. The way he kept changing his
Right.
computation.
The daughter saw his change of countenance, I guess is what they would call it. So I don't know. I that was another extra research. Opened her eyes. So I guess Ineha, she opened her eyes and she saw a well. So that was the Esau's mom or Ishmael's mom. Lifted up her eyes and saw, she saw Isaac, this is her eyes of her mind, oh, that's my husband. Because he goes like, yeah, that's Isaac right there. The wife's mastered her eyes at Joseph. Well, she was trying to seduce him. He was having none of it, but that's what she painted her face. Now, even after everything, I think I got it here from this one. I just wanted people
Is
to
that
know.
Jezebel now?
Yes, from the very end. Yeah, we're going to be reading it. I think I have it queued up here.
Well, it's about 11:15 here. I
Right. So we'll
should.
end with that then as a surprise tomorrow, and we'll wrap it up. But what you're reading there is when Jezebel did that, painted up her face to look seductive. They killed her husband. They found out this evil plot. They're overthrowing the government, and the king is coming in to arrest everybody. And she decides to doll her face up and put on her seductive face, thinking that's going to work.
Yeah, before she gets pitched out the window to the dogs.
Exactly. So, brother, thank you for your time. I'm going to just say You still good? You want me 8 o'clock to your time tomorrow?
That works well on this end.
That goes here 7 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock your time. Hope everybody joins us. Hope they remember that it is a flat earth nation. Very important to Paul at understanding conspiracies if he wants his cognitive dissonance straightened out. That's the last I'll say about it tonight. Because the mud flood was Armageddon. We're never going to tell you anything else. Why would we? We're trying to prove we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho aloha arriba dirty ciao.
We